Back to your views, how have the Conservative Party positioned themselves as the party of the NHS? But remember, of course, there's the massive social care issue, which was addressed in the last couple of days' developments. And here to give us more details on that is Care Minister and Conservative MP for Faversham, which is in God's own land of Kent, of course, Helen Whately, who joins me now. Good to have you on, Minister. I wonder if I can take you back to your piece in the Daily Express yesterday, in which you wrote, and I quote, "Social care is nothing without its staff. So at least £500 million will go into training, career opportunities and staff well-being." How much will go into their pay packets, though, Minister? Good morning.
Good morning. Very good to be on your show. And you're absolutely right. The staff are what makes social care. They are social care and clearly have done an amazing job in such difficult circumstances during the pandemic. So I want to support our staff. One thing I want to do is make sure that staff feel truly valued. Another is to make sure that they have the opportunities to train and for career progression that they want. That's why, as part of our reforms, we've included this 500 million that you just mentioned to support exactly that, staff development and training. The questions of pay for staff is a separate one. So, for instance, the amount that local authorities pay to social care providers who then onwards set the pay for their staff, that's included in the funding that local authorities raise for social care directly. So that's a separate point. What we have voted on yesterday was the extra funding for a big reform package across, on the one hand, introducing a cap on people's costs on care, but on the other, as you said, building more of a career path for the social care workforce.
So there's no pay rises then?
That is not included in what we voted through yesterday, because I said what we voted yesterday was about
the average worker, not necessarily in care, by the way, the average worker loses £250 per annum to fund this, and if you're in the care sector, you don't get any money back in your pay packet. Respectively, Minister, these are just empty words, aren't they, in reality?
No, I don't take that at all.
Well, it's not going to pay the bill at Asda, is it?
Well, hold on. What we voted through yesterday was a new funding stream for health and social care, particularly knowing that for decades, governments have talked about fixing social care. They've talked about the crisis in social care, but have not been able to get anything over the line to actually tackle this. So we did that yesterday. We voted, Labour clearly voted against the extra funding for the NHS and social care, but we in government voted to bring in these social care reforms, to put in place a cap on the amount that people have to spend on their social care, a broader package of reforms to support the system and support the workforce. Separately, on pay, we have been putting up the national living wage, so that has been helping those care workers who are on the living wage and pay. Again, that's a question that gets picked up in the spending review process and the funding overall for social care the local councils raise. But we have done this big thing of taking forward these once in a generation social care reforms at last.
Yes, you mentioned the cap. It's of course no one in England will pay more than £86,000 over their lifetime, but in many instances they will have to sell their house to fund that, won't they?
Well, let's just go through this. And firstly, the context there is.
Well, no, it's a yes or no, isn't it? I mean, not many people have 86 grand kicking around in the bank account.
Let me just step through it. So about 1 in 7 people at the moment have to spend over £100,000 on their care. Almost everybody, particularly those approaching an age where they're more likely to need care, is worrying about whether they might be one of those people who may end up with that great big bill. So the £86,000 firstly gives people a peace of mind that they won't have to spend more than that. Secondly, it enables people to be able to plan for how, if they were to hit that cap, how they might be able to fund it. And then thirdly, exactly to your point, now we recognise that for some people the asset they have is their house. Now, of course, and it's the case now and will continue to be the case in the means testing for social care, your house isn't included in that if you're living in it or if your partner's living in it. But you will also, and we're going to make sure that everybody, if they need to, can access something called a deferred payment agreement, which means that if they do need to draw on the value of their home to put towards the cost of their care, they won't have to sell it during their lifetime.
But it will have to be sold afterwards, obviously, to offset the costs.
Well, I think the important thing here is that this package has addressed the thing that people write to me. I'm sure your listeners have contacted you about this worry about the total uncertainty about what huge bill they might get for their care costs.
Yes.
And this cap ends that uncertainty.
I had the pleasure of speaking with your colleague Sajid Javid yesterday, and he assured me that he was going to be drilling down on costs and that the money would go to ensure that the waiting list could be addressed. And we wake up this morning to headlines saying that the health service is hiring dozens of managers on up to £270,000 a year. So it's the same old NHS, the financial mess, isn't it, Minister?
Yeah, so I've seen, and clearly those are very high salaries. I know what the NHS set out here is that there's going to be a reduction in the number of managers, so fewer people doing bigger jobs, and these individuals will have oversight of populations of over 1 million, driving forward really important...
207... Does anybody in the NHS need to make £270,000 per annum?
I mean, I think it's a really good question. I think
I'm glad. I
salaries
wonder
at
if you'd
this
care to
level
answer it,
absolutely...
Minister.
Well, sorry, I'm coming to salaries at this level absolutely should be scrutinised.
Right.
What I get through in my sort of inbox is when there's a chief executive, for instance, who's going to be paid a salary more than the sort of agreed sort of spectrum of rates, then the NHS organisation has to set out a really good reason for why that would be. I think the NHS does need to really explain why it is that they believe this.
I'm going to ask the question again, if I may, Minister. Noting that your boss, the Prime Minister, earns £150,000 per annum, and he's got £67 million on 67 million people on his watch. 67 million people. We're talking about someone in charge of an area making £270,000. No one should make that money in the NHS, should they?
Well, I think it's a
yes or no,
right to challenge it. Well, I don't think I'm not going to set out whether the NHS should or shouldn't be doing this at this particular point. Having like you've seen this particular story in the headlines today. I know that what I actually personally am really focused on in the NHS part of my job is making sure that we have more doctors and nurses in the NHS, particularly getting 50,000 more nurses in the NHS to do all the fantastic patient care that they do. And we are. But
how will £9 million worth of new chief executives of integrated care boards, all of whom make more than Boris Johnson, how will that deliver more nurses, Minister?
I know that they're going to be taking on great responsibility, and actually one of the things we're doing is making sure that each area of the country takes full responsibility for supporting their workforce in that part of the country. So I do want them actually to be really helping us both retain and recruit more nurses. That will be an important part of their job. So me at a national level, that's what I'm really focused on for the NHS.
All right, last couple of questions. And I've mentioned one of your colleagues, another of your senior colleagues, Gavin Williamson, doesn't seem to be able to tell the difference between Maro Itoje and Marcus Rashford. Is he racist or incompetent?
You'll forgive me for saying, I again have probably seen no more of this than what you have seen.
Well,
I know
what more
that
do you? He's mixed
explained...
up two prominent English black sportsmen. He's got them the wrong way round. I repeat my question: is this through incompetence or racism, Minister?
Honestly, I don't know. All I know is that Gavin has...
So it could be racism.
He's put out his explanation, and there's really nothing more that I can say about it.
So it could be racism.
I can't believe for a moment that he is. I think that sounds highly unlikely, and I think
so. He's incompetent. So it's incompetent.
No, I think that's I think it's a.
It's got to be one or the other, hasn't it?
No. It's not necessarily one or the other.
Oh, come on.
No. You've given me a false choice. That you're trying to put me in a trap to say that there's one thing or the other.
How dare you? As if I try and do that all the years we've known each other.
As if a journalist would try and trap a politician. Nonsense. I don't accept the choice that you've offered me there. What I'll say is Gavin has said what's happened. There's not a lot more I can say.
There's a feverish mood, lastly, Helen Whately, in Whitehall at the moment. A reshuffle in the air. Am I going to be speaking to you as the next Defence Secretary? Come on, what are you down to get?
That's another of those kind of questions. Honestly, Nick, you won't be surprised for me to say that I am busy focusing
on my job.
Job. We've got a massive social care reform announcement we've just made. It's a huge deal. I'm the Care Minister.
Is there no reshuffle on the way?
In the job.
Helen Whately, if I may call you that, is there a reshuffle on the way?
I honestly don't know. But what I know is we've got once in a generation social care reforms over the line, got the vote through in Parliament yesterday, and I'm getting on with putting those into practice.
Always enjoy speaking with you. Thank you so much. Care Minister Helen Whately appearing here on LBC. We're at 8 o'clock. News is next.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's newsroom at 8 o'clock, the Home Secretary has reportedly ordered some migrant boats